Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm new here. I'm Michael Goad. I'm a new Copilot technical specialist with our Microsoft teams. And I'm really excited to be here with you today. And today I'm going to be diving into the world of SharePoint Advanced Management. And you'll often hear that called SAM for short. We love our acronyms here. But if you're really looking to enhance your SharePoint experience with new and advanced management capabilities, compliance settings, really you're in the right place. And we're going to be talking a lot about Copilot as well, because one of the things that we see with a lot of our customers that are interested in SAM is around Copilot readiness as well. So it's a really great tool for that. But in this video, we're going to be taking a look at three different components here. We're going to quickly go through what is SharePoint Advanced Management, and then we're going to go through a walkthrough of all of these new features that are released as of today. There's always new things being built, but we're going to walk through what's available today. And then last, we're going to go through a little bit of FAQ, because I know there's always questions on top of mind of if this, then that, and so forth. So let's get into it. So what is SharePoint Advanced Management? SAM is an add-on for Microsoft 365 that provides access policy and content lifecycle management to secure SharePoint sites. But the thing that I mentioned before, it's a really great tool to help with Copilot readiness by giving the admins a lot of new tools and features, but more importantly, transparency around oversharing, as well as kind of auditing site activities as well. So if you're looking to build out your Copilot strategy, concerned about oversharing and stuff like that, this may be a really good tool to look into to help around that. So as we go through the deep dive, or the walkthrough, I should say, hopefully you'll see some of that and how some of these tools can help you there. But one of the things that I will mention, at Ignite this year, it was announced that SAM is going to be included in your Microsoft 365 Copilot licensing, which is super cool. And that's starting in January 2025. So this means that users or organizations with Microsoft 365 Copilot licensing will have access to these cool SAM features. You're going to be entitled to all of this stuff. So building more and more value into Copilot and what you can do there. So that's what advanced SharePoint management is. So now let's go ahead and let's get into the console. Let's look at the admin center and what these new tools are. So, all right. So I am in the SharePoint admin site. Should look very familiar if you've been here before. A lot of the same stuff here is on the left-hand side here. But one of the things that I'll point out here is the Advanced Management Pro. So when you click on that, this is what we're going to be going over today. And I'm just going to go straight down from the top all the way to the bottom. It's in alphabetical order, so I'm giving fairness to everything. But if you don't have SAM in your tenant right now, you'll know, because all these links and stuff here would be grayed out. You wouldn't be able to click anything in here. But like I said, in January 2025, organizations with Copilot licensing, this will start rolling out to you. So you should see this as part of your tenant soon. But if you have questions, reach out to your Microsoft team to help you there. But all right, let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing that we're going to see is block download policy for SharePoint and OneDrive. So what this is going to allow administrators access to is to block the download of files from SharePoint sites and OneDrive. So this policy can be set for individual sites and ensures that the users only view the files in the browsers without the ability to download, print, or even sync them. So it's really this is a really good feature and really useful for protecting that really sensitive information from being inadvertently shared or accessed inside or outside the organization. So that is going to be a PowerShell command that you're going to run directly to apply here. But really cool thing there. All right, change history. So for change history, this is going to allow administrators to track and review changes made at a site level or organization level. So this feature is going to provide reports, CSVs that you can look at on specific things around what changes, who made the changes, when they occurred, just kind of giving more transparency and accountability. So let's go ahead and look in that. So to look at that, you can see right here, it's under reports and change history. You can go ahead and click on this and it's going to take you right there. For people new to SharePoint, just hit your reports and then it's going to be under change history there. So I've already got one set up, but I'm going to go ahead and generate a new report here. And you can see I can generate two different kinds of reports: site settings and organization settings. And where I really see the value of this is, like, Say you're a global admin, you go on vacation for a week or two, and you want to come back and see what's changed. Really good tool for that. But where I actually see more value is like, have you ever been in that situation where maybe a SharePoint admin comes to you and say, I don't know what's wrong. My SharePoint site's not working correctly. I didn't touch any buttons. I can't figure it out. So this is going to give us the capability to go and generate a report for those site settings and see who made that change, when they made that change, what change they did. So one, bringing accountability to changes in the environment, and two, just giving us the ability to really just help those people out to get us back to a productive state. So, but some really cool stuff that we can do here around generating reports and kind of increasing that transparency and accountability around things. All right, let's go back to advanced management. Oh, let me cancel out of this one first. Conditional access policies for SharePoint and OneDrive. So what this is going to allow is administrators to enforce access controls based on specific conditions, such as things like location, device compliance, and risk level. So these policies can be applied to SharePoint and OneDrive to ensure that only authorized users can access the sensitive sites and say sensitive data. So this one's going to take us out of the SharePoint admin site. So we're going to go directly to Microsoft OnDrive. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. It's going to open up a Microsoft Learn article, but the big thing that you'll have to pay attention to is you're going to need to do two things to set this up. Well, really three things. So you're going to need to create inside of Entra, you need to create an authentication context, and then you'll also need to create your conditional access policy. Once those are both set up, then you can leverage PowerShell to apply that compliance, that conditional policy to a specific site. So that's going to give you ability to do that. So fun stuff there. But if we want to increase, like I said, if we have some sensitive sites or and stuff that we want to put those additional settings around, we can definitely do that now. All right, data access governance report. So I'm just going to dive directly into this one. So it's, again, this is going to be under reports and then data access governance. I'm just going to go and click inside of it. So some of these may be familiar. Some of these you should have had before without needing the additional SAM capabilities. I believe those are sharing links and sensitivity labels. But the main thing, though, the newer one here, I believe, is content shared with everyone except external users. So what I definitely encourage you to look at some of these other ones, because especially around Copilot, it allows you to view things like sharing links and how the things are being, who's creating what sharing links and so forth, and then the sensitivity labels being applied to certain files. But we're going to go ahead and click on reports of the content shared with everyone except external users. So what this is going to allow us to do, I'm just going to go ahead and create a report. We can name it whatever we want for simplicity. Everybody just puts test in there. But for this report, I can filter by a lot of different criteria here. So I'm just going to select all sites. And then I can also look at team sites as well. And if I want to put additional filters, you don't need to, but we can look at any kind of sensitivity labels. And then I can generate a report around specific files and folders. So this report will show sites where everyone except external users was given access to a specific file and folder. So if we want to track that, especially any kind of thing shared externally and so forth, or we want to track the sites. So show sites where everyone except external users was added to a site membership in the last 28 days. So this is valuable information, valuable reports if we kind of want to track some of that stuff as well. So cool new thing that we can do on top of the existing data access governance reports that we can generate as well. All right, let's go down. Let's go back to Advanced Management Pro here. Default sensitivity labels for document libraries. So what this is going to allow us to do is configure default sensitivity labels for the documents that we house within our SharePoint library. So this is going to ensure that any new files uploaded or edited within that library are automatically labeled with the appropriate sensitivity label. So let's go ahead and look at that, what that is going to look like. Ooh, that was a lot of words at one time, but to look at to figure out which sensitivity label is default on a site, we're going to go over to active sites here. And I don't have a lot of sites because it's just a simple demo tenant. But I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look at our leadership site because I know that may be a higher sensitivity SharePoint site that I don't that needs to make sure that we certain people should have only certain people should have access to, and then two, we want to have some higher sensitivity around that. So to do that, we're going to we're going to go to settings over here, and there's a couple things that we're going to look at and come back to. But the thing that I want to call out is this sensitivity label here. So if you don't have SAM, this is still going to be there, but it's not going to be available to you to do anything with. So I've already put a sensitivity label on this already, but I can just simply select that and pick the appropriate sensitivity label that I need. So one, this is something that you're going to need Purview for. So you want to create those sensitivity labels in Purview. But once those are created, then we can start utilizing those. And then any new documents that are uploaded, anything edited in there will automatically get that sensitivity label put onto that piece of content. All right, let's exit out of there. What's next here? OneDrive access restriction. So, what this policy is going to allow administrators to do is limit access to OneDrive content to a specific security group. So this is going to ensure that only authorized users can access and share files within OneDrive, really preventing unauthorized access to potential data breaches and so forth. But it's kind of more of a hammer down approach. So let's go ahead and look at this. So to access this, we're going to look at policies, access control, and then OneDrive access restriction. So policy access control, here we go. And then OneDrive access restriction. So it's a simple kind of features, just turn on and off. Not a lot here to select here, but this is going to be more of an allow list. So I'm going to type in a specific security group and so forth. And then when you put that security group in there, those are the people that are going to have access to OneDrive. And then people that aren't part of that group will not have access to OneDrive. So really, where I see kind of this makes sense a bit is maybe with full-time employees needing access to OneDrive and maybe part-time employees not needing access to OneDrive. Maybe a really simple example of that, but something that really just I kind of right off the top of my head, but that's a good example of maybe when we would want to use this type of restriction there. And I'll call out with this restriction, this kind of approach here, if a group that has access to OneDrive tries to share something with someone that's outside of that group, they won't be able to view that content. And if they go to OneDrive, they're not going to be able to do anything there as well. So I'm sure there's a lot of different examples for that, but there's an approach there if you need that type of control over OneDrive. All right, going down here, recent actions. So what recent actions is just kind of a simple log of the latest changes that you as the admin made to that site. So we can go to active sites and then recent actions. I'm actually going to show you exactly where that's at, but we're going to go to active sites. And then once you're here, you're going to see this recent actions over here, kind of in the middle right. And then once you hit that, it's going to give you everything that you as the admin have done over the past 30 days. So you can see that I've changed some sensitivity labels on a couple different SharePoint sites. So again, this is just for you. If you want to view any kind of changes globally from different admins and so forth, that's where we want to go to the change history that we already kind of talked about previously. But again, that's just for you. If you want to see globally, go to change history. All right, let's go back to advanced management here. Site lifecycle management. Really cool one here. So these are going to be policies that you're going to create. I'll go ahead and just select that. And this is going to be new. So if you don't have SAM, you wouldn't see this site cycles here at the left. You wouldn't see this site lifecycle management even pop up. So once you have SAM under policies, you're going to see this pop up. All right, so we've got two cool things that we can look at here, and we're going to look at both. So I'm going to take a look at the inactive site policy. So I've got some things that I've already created here, but I'm going to go ahead and create a policy. So I'll walk you through all the buttons that we can see. So In this specific policy, it's kind of doing a couple different things. So we're generating the report of inactive sites. So we can say what site is, and then we can also take an action or automate an action to send monthly emails to site owners or site admins, informing them of inactive sites. And then two, we can take an action on that if it's been active for more than 3 months. So some cool things that we can do. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. What we see here is we have a selection of how long after the last activity should a site be considered inactive. So we have some selections here from 1 to 6 months. So up to you on what your policies are there, and then what sites should be included in this. I'm going to select all because I'm going to need to do that in order to go to the next. And then we can filter, we can add some filters to that. And we can also add some exclusions, which is really cool because there's definitely sometimes where we have certain sites that are super sensitive that we don't want part of the policy for a variety of different reasons and factors. So for this case, I'm going to hit sit next, and then I can say who should be notified if it's just a site owner or site admins. And then I have the actions that I can take. So what happens after those, after all of those actions have taken, after the emails to the admins and so forth. If I want to do nothing, great. Or maybe I want to take enforcement. So I can, after 3 months or 3 notifications, that turns into a read-only access, or we can archive it. You got to go through a little bit of hoops to do that. So we got to make sure that Microsoft 365 archive is on. But that's really, it can be a powerful policy, especially when we start thinking about Copilot, and maybe we have some really old sites that have really old content, and we don't want that being put into the index, into the graph, and having Copilot read from age documentation. So some interesting things that we can do, especially when it comes to Copilot and kind of managing inactive sites and just making sure that our SharePoints are optimized. So I could click next here and so forth, but I'm just going to cancel all of that one. All right, let's go back to site lifecycle management. And the next one we got is site ownership policy. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. This is going to allow us to build some compliance around our SharePoint site. So I'm going to go ahead and create a policy here. And we've got kind of that 3-step process as well, where we can generate the report so we can see the visibility of all of this. And then we can send out monthly notifications. So it kind of automates some of those responses. And then the second week, we can start building some actions around everything. All right, let's hit next and see what we can do here. So similar, we can select which sites that we want part of this. We've got the filters that we can do, as well as our exclusions, very similar to the last policy. And then we can, who should be responsible for the site? We can adjust that. And then here's the cool thing: minimum owners or admins required for each site. So 1 or 2. The 2 is our recommended. And the reason behind that is, when we have SharePoint sites, if we only have one owner of that, what happens if they leave or something, or they change a new role? They're not paying attention to that site anymore, and it just kind of goes orphan, and that data becomes stagnant and so forth. So when we have 2 owners on that, we can make sure that those SharePoint sites remain healthy and so forth, and then we can build some compliance around there. So if that SharePoint site, for some odd reason, someone leaves and it's back down to 1 owner, we can email those owners, and then we can start taking some actions as well. So we can just set it to read only, or we can change it, or just no change, and we just get the report so we can see what's in compliance or not. So some cool things that we can do there to ensure that our SharePoint sites are well maintained and optimized with the right owners and so forth. All right, back to advanced management. Last but not least, definitely not least, and I'm gonna put a plug in here for Michael Gennady. If you have not seen his Candidly podcast, I definitely recommend you watch that. It's on this YouTube channel here, and I believe it's in episode 2. He talks about site level access restrictions. And what site level access restrictions are is it's kind of it's a little bit of a more like a hammer down approach, but it allows us, especially if we're really concerned about oversharing or site access to very high sensitive SharePoint sites that only certain people really should have visibility into. This allows us to restrict up to 100 sites from Copilot, from Microsoft Search, and so forth. So only certain people can see them. But I'm going to put a little bit of context around here because Michael Gennady did a really good job explaining this in his podcast. But um, this is uh, this is not something we want to do globally, and one that we can only do up to 100 sites, but we should not. I wouldn't recommend taking this approach just because I don't want Copilot to access certain things. There are some fundamental things. If you're building your Copilot strategy and trying to figure out how we limit oversharing and making sure that users have the right access to the right data, this is where you start. This is where Purview becomes a really big thing, but this is where you really want to pay attention to your sensitivity labels, your DLP policies, your retention policies, all built within Purview. Those are very important things that you should build as your fundamental when you're really building out your Copilot strategy and making sure that your users have the right access to the right things. But where site level access restrictions really come in is for those really high sensitive SharePoint sites like an HR, a board of directors, maybe finance, and so forth, where you want to make sure that that site is restricted from search and all in it or anything like that. So and I will preface another thing: when you utilize this specific feature, not only affects your Copilot users, it affects every user in the organization. So if they go to like just start searching SharePoint or something like that, it's affects them as well. So it just removes those sites altogether from search. But how do we do this? Let's get into it. So this to do site level access restrictions is about a two-step process. We have to enable the feature, and then we have to go site by site to enforce a restriction as well. So the first step is to go to policies, access control. So I'm just going to click on it so it gives me a shortcut there. Should look familiar. There's your OneDrive access restriction that we went through before. So by default, this is not on. I've already done this in my tenant, but you'll have to go to site level restriction right here and then turn this feature on and hit save. Once that's feature on, then we can start utilizing it. So to start utilizing it, we're going to go to our active sites, and I'm going to go back to this leadership site because I know it is a highly sensitive site. So I can go to settings, and then I told you we come back here. We did our sensitivity label already. Great. And then over here, you've got your restricted site access as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit there. And from there, you can just hit restrict access to the site. And then that restricts it from anyone that's not part of that SharePoint group who already has access to it and so forth. So you want to review privileges and everything there as well. But once that's on, hit save, and that thing, give it a little bit of time. Some of these things take time, but that should remove itself from search and from Copilot as well. So it's a good feature to have when it's a good tool to have around specific sites that you need to do a kind of a heavy hammer approach to. But like I said, when you're it's limited to 100, but really look at your fundamentals around your Copilot readiness and building the proper fundamentals with purview, retention, sensitivity labels, DLP policies to make sure that we have the right our internal and our external use cases are optimized for that. But that is what is available now in SharePoint Advanced Management. And like I said at Ignite, this was announced that this feature, the SAM, will be built into your entitlement as a Microsoft Copilot user as well. So if you've got that licensing, eventually starting in January, you'll start seeing this roll out to individual tenants there. But I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you're excited about some of the capabilities that we can do here. But next up, let's go through a bit of an FAQ. In this, I'm just gonna go over some common questions that we've gotten from customers, and I also feel that are probably going to be questions that myself as well as you may also have as well. So let's get into it. So what's the relationship between SAM and Microsoft 365 Copilot? I hope I was able to kind of demonstrate some of those where we've got a lot of tools and capabilities to really help you understand oversharing and give some transparency into your SharePoint sites to make sure that things are optimized for Copilot and that we have the right security around our sites. But it's really there to SAM is a tool to really help accelerate your Copilot adoption through providing some of those built-in governance tools and insights to address some of the common kind of like governance issues that's like things like oversharing, sprawl, and lifecycle management. But that's really the relationship there. It is a tool to help with Copilot readiness as well as help with just some of that transparency and management around SharePoint. When will SharePoint Advanced Management availably be part of Copilot? I've answered that one before, but it was announced that in January of 2025 is when we're going to start seeing that early rollout to tenants. So those things take time, so you may not get it right away, but it will start rolling out in early 2025. Do I need do I need to license all users for Copilot to use SharePoint Advanced Management? The answer to that is no. SharePoint Advanced Management will be included for free for customers with a Microsoft 365 Copilot license starting early in 2025. Will SharePoint Advanced Management features that are enabled with or operate with Microsoft Purview be included with Copilot? So this comes back to some of those sensitivity labels that we looked at previously, and the answer to is no. Features that are enabled with Microsoft Purview, such as enabling labeling and document protections in SharePoint, are not included with Copilot. So you're going to want to make sure you have the right licensing for that as well. Work with your Microsoft team around that. For customers that are like partially licensed for Microsoft 365 Copilot, i.e., not estate-wide, how will SAM licensing enforcement work? So the answer to that is Microsoft will not have a coverage requirement. Customers will not need blanket licenses for Copilot with this update. For example, if you have one Copilot license, you will receive all of SAM's value. There's not going to be an enforcement on a specific number of Copilot licensing for customers that use SharePoint Advanced Management. Another example of this is if you have 10,000 users but only have 243 license for Copilot, then all 10,000 users are eligible for SharePoint Advanced Management. So in brief, if you have one Copilot license, then you will be entitled to a benefit from the entire SAM capabilities. But I'm going to put a note here that this change is only applicable to Copilot entitled customers. So if you do not have a Copilot license and opts to purchase SharePoint Advanced Management standalone, which you definitely can do, you will need to license all your users as well. So it's just if you have Copilot and you're rolling out Copilot, this is just a tool that's going to that you'll be entitled to utilize from a backend administration side of things. How can you purchase SAM if you don't have a Copilot license? Kind of just gave it a little nugget of this is it kind of gave a little nugget of this just recently, but yes, you can. So if you would like to purchase SharePoint Advanced Management without Copilot, it's definitely available as an add-on license. But there's a lot of cool things with Copilot. So definitely reach out to your Microsoft team if you want to have a larger discussion around all the value of Copilot that we can help you with. What if I'm planning to purchase Copilot but would like to get started with SharePoint Advanced Management today? Do I need to purchase it? There's a 30-day trial for SharePoint Advanced Management, so you can go to your SharePoint admin site and go to you can go to the Advanced Management Pro, and you can start a trial of that if you kind of want to get an early step into that as well. What is restricted SharePoint search? So I mentioned this. This was the last one that we pointed out in the walkthrough. But restricted SharePoint search is a temporary option to give time to review and audit site permission. So while you maintain kind of momentum with your Copilot deployment, it's there to help you better manage some of those really highly sensitive sites. What other approaches can you do to address SharePoint oversharing concerns? So implementing restricted SharePoint search is a temporary option to kind of give you time to review and audit site permissions to further manage SharePoint site access. You can implement more things like advanced access policy and advanced site content lifecycle management through some of the additional SharePoint Advanced Management tools that we went through, as well as Microsoft Purview. I talked about Microsoft Purview. It is a really important tool to building security around all of your data and making sure that users have the correct access to that they need and not any additional. So Purview's a really good tool. But I think those are some of some of the common questions I've seen. Hopefully, I've hit on some of the questions that you have around SharePoint Access Management. But I hope this was helpful for everyone. If you have questions, please reach out to your Microsoft team, and you'll get access to a Copilot technical specialist to help you really understand SharePoint Access Management, Copilot, and really get building that readiness approach around Copilot. But I hope you have an awesome day. Take care. Bye.